Welcome, everyone. My name is John. I'm joined by my good friend Zach, and we are going to do a review of Nosferatu. We're going to start off with no spoilers, just to kind of give you our overall thoughts, and then I would like to talk some spoilers if you're in the mood, Zach.
Surely.
Awesome. So, why don't you go first for this one? Generally speaking, did you like it? Did you hate it? What were your thoughts and feelings that made you feel things inside?
I enjoyed this. I thought it was great. I almost was looking for reasons to not like it, and it wasn't happening. It was very easy to follow, really interesting story. I love all the vampire stuff. I love the different takes on it. I love seeing like these classic, uh, movies where they take place in a certain time. Just the language, the architecture, the mood, the wardrobe, everything was just really right off the bat caught my attention. But I thought it was very easy to follow. Um, it was an interesting story, an interesting take on it, as far as taking Nosferatu, taking Dracula, and going places with it, and sort of seeing it made in a film today, in today's day and age, because the last two Nosferatus were in 1922 and in like 1970 something. So we're
Oh
talking
wow,
100 years ago, practically. You know, so this I thought was done really well, and again, really easy to follow. Um, was dark enough, was gory enough, was scary enough, interesting enough. The different themes that it touched on, um, and it kept my attention the whole time. There were no like lulls for me. There was no point where I'm like, come on already, something happened. The way the story was developing, and once it got going, and I had to pee really bad. I drank a ton of like water and soda, and I think I should go now. I think I should go now. I'm so glad I just held it, because I would have missed some of my favorite parts towards the end, and it just really came together. And I can't recommend it enough. I have a couple people in my life, mostly my two brothers, who are really critical of movies. I'm curious to see what their take on it is. So yeah.
cool man. And just we'll obviously talk about it more in the spoiler section, but you'd mentioned those two older movies of Nosferatu. Have you seen those, and were you a fan of those?
I saw the first one from 1922, and it's great, man. It's on YouTube. It's free. I think they're both on YouTube, but it's great, man. It's like silent movie, and even from fucking 1922, the character of Nosferatu was creepy as fuck, man. Creepy as fuck. Like, and just such a great story and fun watch. Interesting to see how film was back in 1922 and what they did with the story. Because for copyright purposes, they couldn't call it Dracula. They had to call
Mhm.
it Nosferatu, and they had to change a couple little different things with the story, like some of the character names or whatever. But that first one is great, dude. Such a fun watch. The second one I've not seen. I saw a review on it, but I've not seen it yet.
Cool, dude. Yeah. So I think when we talk about spoilers, it'll be interesting because I have not. Even though we shared a couple audio messages with each other talking about the movie, and then it kind of inspired me. I was like, hey, we should record ourselves talking about this. The director Robert Eggers. I'm a huge fan of his. At least the three previous movies that he's done that I've seen. The Witch, I was a huge fan of. The Lighthouse after that. What I really enjoyed, that was a different type of take. And The Northman, which some people were critical of for being different than kind of his other movies. And I will admit that movie was not as weird. I still really enjoyed it, and I saw that one multiple times in the theaters, which is not something I commonly do. So I'm a big fan of his. I was walking into the theater super excited and like I'm just gonna like it no matter what type of thing, and I ended up not liking it at all. Um, I had a really hard time with it, and so it'll be interesting to discuss it with you. Um, almost the other side of the coin, not to be another contrarian in your life, but um, everything from the like I found that I'd be curious when we talk about the spoilers, like if the story, I don't want to just give him a free pass, but if he's just copying the story of movies that have been done before, then I can't put too much of that on him. I found a lot of problems with, or I had a lot of problems understanding kind of the story in terms of, or at least I hope that I'm misunderstanding something because then it'll make more sense to me, or maybe I did understand it and it was just kind of funny to me. Um, some of the pacing and like repetitiveness, like I was feeling pretty bored in it. I was like, man, Bob Dylan's movie is way more action packed.
Yeah.
That's progressing the story a lot more than what's going on in here. So yeah, man, I was just, uh, I don't know. It was just something didn't click with me. I love the cast. Um, I love weird, dark, creepy movies. I love the director. I thought, on a positive note, I'd say like there's multiple jump scares in the movie, and multiple ones of them got to me. Where it wasn't like horrible, but like I thought they was timed really well. I thought some of the horror elements looked really cool when they did it. Um, so those were the positive things about it. But unfortunately, I just yeah, between the story and some stuff seemed kind of goofy to me, or I didn't understand certain things. I wanted to love this movie so much, but I just didn't.
Well, I can appreciate that, man, just because, you're a fan of the director and, I don't know if you've seen people's feelings on it. It's good to know that like you're not swayed just by those things, by popular opinion or by being just the director. Um, was there any aspects of the story that you just had a hard time keeping up with or making sense of?
Again, I'm not 100% sure if I understand it and it's just funny to me, or like doesn't make sense to me why they would choose to do that in a story, or I'm not really fully understanding it, and so because of that, despite not enjoying this movie, I have gone down a YouTube rabbit hole where I've watched tons of videos talking about it, and I think I'm in the minority in terms of not liking it because pretty almost everything that I've seen has been people liking it. At least from all the normal people on YouTube that I watch that like it, just to see, I typed in Nosferatu sucks and just to see some people, and I was like, okay, there's a couple reviews out there of people not liking it. And there's been some comments, and I've been trying to ask questions and stuff too, and to see if there's something I'm missing. And something that I'm hearing a lot from people is overall that they really thought it looked great. They thought it was acted well. A lot of the people, and that was one of the reasons I had asked if you had seen the original. I don't know if this is going to change people's perspectives on it. Similar to the Bob Dylan movie, I had not seen I had zero history essentially with Nosferatu. I didn't know anything. I knew he was a vampire and that was it. I didn't know any of the storyline or anything like that. And so maybe it seemed like a lot of the people that really loved it had seen all of those previous movies, and so maybe they knew the storyline, and so it wasn't as surprising to them or like funny or weird or anything like that. So I don't know if that's a difference in my perspective. And again, if this is a 100-year-old storyline, if not longer, then holding that up to modern day may not be fair. But I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my general thoughts on me not understanding it versus understanding it and just not understanding why they made the story that way.
Yeah, sometimes I watch those YouTube clips of people breaking it down or making sense of it or explaining it, and it helps me a lot. It helped me. I can't recall the movie. Maybe it was Hereditary or like Midsummer, or it was one of those types of movies. And watching the person break it down really helped me understand, like, and maybe want to watch it again.
Yeah.
Because I I I kind of get frustrated when I'm like, I'm not making sense of this. That's why even with the Godfather movies, like there's so many characters. I'm like, wait, he's killing him. Why is he mad? You know, like so I literally watched it, 5 or 6 times at this point, and it makes sense after the first couple times because there's
Yeah.
so much going on that like I almost wish they would have like a little like key on the screen to show like this guy good, this guy bad, this guy in cahoots with that guy, and just sometimes making sense of it. And then once I feel I have a grasp of the story, I can really then enjoy it for what it
Yeah.
is, and I can start to go, wow, I like how they, you know, how they depicted this person, or how they decided to go with this sort of angle. Or one thing I really did enjoy, and let me know if you're on the same page, is when I forget the name of the character, but the real estate agent who is walking up and he starts to see like
Oh,
this
look, is
shadow.
this? Are we going into the spoiler territory here?
I don't think so.
Okay, sorry. All right,
Yeah, but
continue.
he starts to see Nosferatu like or his like wagon approach him, and it's at first just a dark blob, and then it comes closer, and as it gets closer, you can start to see that it's horse and carriage or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah,
Stuff
no,
like
there's
that.
I think there's a lot of cool moments like that in terms of the way it was shot and the visuals and stuff like that. And to your point too, going back to yeah, watching YouTube afterwards to learn about movies and understand it more. There's a handful of movies I can think of where I watched the movie and I didn't like it or only kind of liked it, and then I watched and learned about it, and then I ended up loving the movie and rewatching it. So some examples are a pretty weird movie from Ryan Gosling called Only God Forgives. I watched that one and I was like, I have no idea what just happened. And then I watched someone break it down and all the symbolism and meaning. And then I watched it again. I was like, okay, this movie is amazing. Similar to Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal. That was a very weird movie with a weird ending. And I did not know again, more symbolism of what was going on. And um, Mother, a somewhat more recent movie directed by Darren Aronofsky. Again, tons of symbolism in it that I did not get on the first viewing, and so I was hoping that this movie would be that. I did hear some people talk about some of the symbolism and what it could mean. However, I think I assume, and correct me if you feel differently or think differently or know differently, this movie it might have that aspect to it, but it's also meant to be enjoyed just from a non-symbolic perspective of just these are the things that happened and it's an interesting story.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think even if you're not into the horror genre or into the story of Dracula or the occult or that time frame, I think you could still watch it and just see it as like good versus evil,
Yeah,
and see how it plays out and how eventually, it comes to where it concludes, so to speak.
yeah,
Um, and that I like in movies where you don't feel like you have to know, really any history, any
right.
background. Just enjoy it for what it is. But if you if you do know it, like for me, I know a little bit, and it's so fun to like kind of nerd out on it and watch the reviews of other people and talk about it, like here I am with you, um, and get into just the different takes on it, different things that you pick up, different reasons why you might like something like that. I love, man. That's just so fun to nerd out on and
Yeah.
just yeah, like delve into.
Was your theater full or empty or something in between? I again went pretty late to where the movie didn't start until like 11 p.m. On a weeknight, and
Nice.
but there was still not like a ton of people, but enough to where you can kind of gauge some audience reaction. I did see some people like dozing off, but that was a late movie. And then one guy I was kind of surprised at because I thought I was the only jerk who's done this, where he was there with a group of like 4 or 5 friends, and an hour into it, he seemed like he was bored or something, and so he left and he never came back.
Well,
But who knows? Maybe his dog needed him or something like that, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it wasn't related to it. But it seemed like he just didn't enjoy the movie, and so he left. Did you? Was there a crowd? Did you see gauge any reactions from any of the people around you, if there was?
Decent crowd. It was Christmas night. Pretty full. More full than I've seen movies lately. Um, um, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't think anyone like left during it. I went with my friend, and he definitely seemed to enjoy it. Um, but yeah, I didn't like chat anyone up afterwards, or really even get a sense of if people enjoyed it or not. I just assumed that they did because I just did so much. I was like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. You know, all the different parts of it that I really enjoyed, and the story, and you know, yeah, it was just. I don't know if I was surprised, but I was just delighted because it was Christmas, and
Yeah.
it is sort of a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas. You know, which I kind of neat in its own right.
But no one snoring or walking out that you noticed?
Yeah, I don't see anyone snoring, no one on their phone, no one being like annoying, chatting it up. I think for the most part, I lucked out. I didn't fall asleep. You know, I was definitely intrigued by it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think I'm ready to talk about spoilers. Is there any other closing thoughts that you wanted to throw out there, or any other questions or things you wanted to discuss before we go into spoilers?
Um, I guess I'm curious. Are you interested in like Dracula, Frankenstein, and all that like horror genre lore?
Um, that's a good question. I'd say generally speaking, not really. Um, and I felt that same way about his other three movies. But because you had mentioned it, he makes such a strong effort to be historically accurate and bringing a lot of details from the clothes to the way that people talk to the dialect that they have to the environments. And let's see, I'm going blurry again. Anyway, um, I was hoping so with those other three movies, I was, I'm not a huge like The Witch. I was not like super into like witch stuff and wanted to see that, but I thought they did it really well in that old English and the dialect. Same
Totally.
thing, lighthouses. I've not been a huge like advocate for investigating the historical relevance of lighthouses and what was accurate for that time, but the details and the stuff made me like really interested in it.
Cool.
And similar to the Northman, I've never really like been into Viking lore. I know there's like Viking shows and stuff like that on TV, and some people really get into it. Like on paper, none of those things interested me, but he did such a good job, and it was such an interesting stories that it made me into it. So I was hoping that this would be the same. So in a similar way, I'm not, I haven't seen the old Nosferatu like I mentioned. I'm not like seeking out, I avoided Twilight because it sounded lame in terms of vampires and stuff and werewolves and
Mhm.
that type of stuff. So it's not something that I seek out, but I was hoping that it would be similar to the other movies where he made me interested in it.
That's cool, man. It's neat that can happen where you're not so into this subject, but because the movie's so good or leaves such an impression that you want to pursue it. I've not seen The Northman. I've not seen The Lighthouse. I saw Witch with you, um, but yeah, I was just curious, man, if this is something that you're interested in or if this sparked anything. So, seeing this movie doesn't make you want to investigate more about Nosferatu or Dracula. You're like sort of it hasn't changed anything in that.
It's a good question. I mean, I guess it has in the sense that it made me start to look at this, start watching videos and learning more about it. So I guess it has, but it's also just kind of been like I feel like it's been less maybe about the interest in the subject matter and more of just a curiosity of like so many people like this and I don't, and I think I'm missing. I'm trying to see
Mm,
if I'm missing something or if it's just a different style that I don't like. So
cool. Okay, I get that, man.
cool. Well, my camera died out, so hopefully it starts working again. But in any case, um, we will do some spoilers now, and I will stop the recording, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds good, man.